your mic off, your video off, there will be a certain session or a certain part of the session where you'll be able to put your mic on to ask questions. But before that, please refrain from doing that. And we should be able to get started in a couple more minutes. Somebody in the chat asked if this is for high school. So yes, these are regional programs that start in grade 9. So if you're interested in applying to IB, IBT, AP, SciTech, and the regional arts program starting in grade 9, so that would mean you're currently a grade 8 student, then this is the session for you. There are also regional programs in Peel that start in the 6th grade. Unfortunately, we are not going to be talking about those today.
Someone says they're interested in arts and IB.
So somebody said they are interested in the arts and IB. We do have an art student here today. We have Parker, so I'm sure she'll be able to answer some of your questions. And responding to another question, somebody asked, so you should be currently in grade 8. Yes, so that's ideal that you're currently in grade 8 and you're going to be applying to start these programs in grade 9. If you're in grade 7 or grade 6, you just want to know what's out there, then definitely it's great to, get thinking about these things early. So grade 8 is probably the best time to be listening to our presentation, but we'd love to hear questions from younger students as well who are just, thinking ahead.
I think we can get started. We have 25 people, which is great.
Okay, awesome. So we are going to get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to How to High School. This is our second session of our Q&A series, which is presented by Sparkin STEM. So Sparkin STEM is a group of passionate students who attend Central Peel Secondary School, and we host a variety of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics-based initiatives for our friends in elementary school and middle school. So during COVID-19, obviously, we've all been kind of thrown a loop, and we're going to be doing a lot of virtual initiatives. And one of our virtual initiatives is actually talking about some of the regional programs that exist in Peel. And we've gotten a panel of very talented, brilliant students from some of these programs who are going to be telling you about their experiences. Just before we move on, this is a disclaimer that we cannot tell you how to get into these programs because we are not representatives of the Peel District School Board. We are just students. Most of us in grade 12, and we even have a student who's here and he's in university right now. So we can't tell you how to get in, but we can tell you our experiences and why we chose those programs for ourselves. So we're just going to start with introducing ourselves. So hi, everyone. My name is Gerline. I am the Public Relations Coordinator for Sparkin STEM, and I'm currently a grade 12 AP student.
Hi everyone, my name is Puneet and I am an activity coordinator in Sparkin STEM, and I am also a grade 12 AP student.
Hi, my name is Parker Taggart. I am currently a grade 12 student attending Mayfield Secondary School for the music program.
Hi everyone, my name is Ayush Shah. I'm in the IBT program at North Park Secondary School and I'm currently in grade 12.
Hi everyone, I'm Ria and I currently attend Turner Fenton and I'm a grade 12 student in the IB program.
Hi everyone, my name is Sia Bhatia. I am also a grade 12 student. I am currently in AP and strings.
And hi everybody, my name is Rhythm Goyle. I'm currently in university. I'm at the University of Waterloo for mechatronics engineering, but I graduated from the SciTech program at Chinguzi Secondary School just in June. So yeah.
Okay, so first, before we get into a quick overview of what we're going to do today, just a disclaimer once again that we are not representatives of the PDSB, so we can't tell you how to get in and anything about the current admissions, but because times have changed and it's been nearly 4 years for most of us since we applied to any of these programs. So today we're just going to talk about our experiences and a little bit about what the programs are. And nothing about how to get accepted and what you should do. So a quick overview. We're going to talk about what a regional program is, what regional programs exist in Peel, why you should apply to these different programs, the course options and the opportunities you can get from applying to these regional programs, and a little bit about thinking ahead about university and your specific interests.
So for those of you who have never applied to a regional program before and this is your first time, I'm sure you're wondering, well, what is a regional program? So a regional program is basically a selective stream or program at a school in Peel that's focused on a particular subject or discipline. So some of the examples I can think of are the International Business and Technology program at North Park, also known as IBT, focuses on business and technology. The arts at Mayfield has several different streams, and I'm sure Parker can talk about that a little bit later, but you get to focus on a discipline in the arts. There's also some regional programs, particularly two in the Peel District School Board, that are part of worldwide associations. So IB and AP courses are offered in schools around the world. So in that particular scenario, you're not focusing on a certain discipline, you're focusing on, you can actually explore different career paths if you're unsure, but you can do that in pretty much any program. So the big thing that you need to take away from the slide is that a regional program is an outlet for you to explore your interests. You're only in high school. Believe it or not, your interests are going to change and evolve over the next 4 years. And this is the opportunity for you to really get a taste of something that you're interested in and see if this is something you want to do for the rest of your life.
Okay, so let's talk about the different programs in Peel. So there are a variety of different regional programs that are offered in Peel, some ranging from more specific and focusing on different interests, others more general, like earlier talked about, more international ones like IB and AP that focus on all the courses, and you can choose more of where you want to go and explore different interests. So there's the IB program, which is international, the AP, the regional arts program, which focuses more on towards arts, regional strings, international business technology, and science and technology. So all these different programs are more exclusive to some things, or in other cases, general. For example, science and technology will focus more on science and technology and give you more opportunities to focus on those kind of topics, those courses. And about admissions and application dates, if we click on this link here, there's a site on Peel District School Board that lets you know all the information that you need to know about application dates, tours, virtual tours. I don't know how they'll do it this year, the different workshops and not the workshops, but like, you know, the things they have to go check out the school, how to apply, all that different stuff. You can go on the Peel District School Board website and they will tell you about it. But today we'll focus more on student experiences, how they felt through their course at the different programs. Yeah.
So we could probably tell you what we think of the regional programs, but I think it's more meaningful if you hear from people who are actually in those programs. So we're going to turn it over to our panelists, ask them a couple questions. Because we don't have any notes on the slide, if you want to get out some pen, paper, you know, an iPad, whatever you're using these days, and take some notes on what these people have to say, you can do so now. But we're going to start with our panelists. So Parker, why did you choose the regional arts program?
Well, when I was in middle school, like a lot of the other panelists here, I was in the IB Middle Years program, and I honestly just found that it wasn't a very good fit for me personally, but the one thing that I really did love about school was music. So I decided maybe that I should try to look into pursuing that as a passion into high school, which ended up leading to me applying for the regional arts program and getting in, which was amazing, and it's been an awesome couple of years since then.
And so there are a couple of different streams in the regional arts program as well. So can you tell us what they are?
So there's music, which is either vocal or instrumental. There's visual arts, which is like painting, etc. Dance, and then there is drama.
That's very cool. So Mayfield is a very, very reputed art school. It's a great program for anyone who is interested in that. Moving on to another program that we have here. Ria, can you tell us a little bit more about the IB program?
Yeah, of course. So as Gurleen, as you said, IB doesn't really focus on one subject itself. It helps us explore all different strands and all different subjects, whether that be math, science, English, music, arts, whatever that is, we can choose and we can explore. So if we compare it to the Ontario curriculum, IB covers the Ontario curriculum and then it goes above and beyond. So we have a lot of content-rich learning, and we really do learn how to learn to have a deep understanding about different topics. So one way that I like to describe IB is that it really helps with the above and beyond learning. Another aspect of IB is that it helps us get this global exposure where we can relate our classroom, things that we learn in our classroom to real world topics, and whether that be like word problems or real life applications, or just relating and connecting with our community.
Awesome. And so you were in the IB program before as well in middle school. And so what was it that encouraged you to stay in that stream and continue in high school?
Yeah. So as you said, I was in middle school. I was in IB in middle school, and now I'm in IB in high school as well. And the reason why I chose to stay was that IB really helped me explore my interests, as I said before. So if I want to do science, I can go in science. If I want to, be more creative and go into like the arts, I can do that as well. So IB doesn't really help us narrow down our focuses and topics. It really helps us keep a broad scope of what we want to do. So that was definitely one of the main reasons.
Okay, awesome. Moving on to another one of our panelists, Rhythm is actually a graduate from Science and Technology. So can you tell us a little bit about that program?
Sure. So at SciTech, the biggest motto we have is hands-on, minds-on. So we have a very, very hands-on approach to a lot of different studying aspects. As the name suggests, it's very science and technology based. But as you go in your more senior years, so in grade 11 and 12, you get a little bit more freedom as to what you want to pursue, if it's more towards the science based or towards more technology. Personally, I chose the engineering route and decided to go with technology, but there's tons of courses that are available and that you can study from. And I was also in SciTech in middle school as well, so I decided to pursue that because I just basically liked science and technology. I liked the entire kind of motto, the vibe that the schools gave us, right? Because it was a lot of fun meeting like-minded people, working with them on different projects. So I decided to continue that through to Chinguzi.
Awesome. And so can you tell us, you said that you can choose between the science stream and the technology stream. So can you tell us just a little bit about like what the big differences are between science and technology as part of that program?
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of science, so the way it works is you get to choose your courses. And so you have to choose a certain amount of science and tech courses in grade 9 and 10. And then in grade 11 and 12, they give you a lot more freedom. So the tech courses include computer engineering, programming, a lot of physical designing and building projects. So solving design problems. Whereas on the science route, you get to work on biology organisms or physics problems, something that you're interested in. So I know some of the seniors from last year, they did a biology experiment with live specimens, right? And that was part of their summative, which I found was really cool because that's what they were interested in.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for all that information, Rhythm. We're going to move on to Sia, who's actually in 2 regional programs. So Sia, can you tell us what programs you're in?
So I'm in the Advanced Placement program, better known as AP, and Strings. So
Awesome.
Advanced Placement is basically, as you mentioned before, it was created in America by the College Board and extends to America and Canada. Much like IB, a lot of the courses that you take go beyond the Ontario curriculum. So you learn the base Ontario curriculum mainly in pre-AP, which is in grade 9 and 10. And then as you go into grade 11 and 12, you take higher level courses after covering the basics. And from here, you're able to take things called AP exams, where you're able to actually earn a university level credit. Mainly, these are transferable to universities in America, but some universities in Canada do accept AP credits, and that's just based on the university you go to. For strings, it's a program where you spend 4 years learning a strings instrument, whether it be the violin, viola, cello, or bass. So you can join this program as a complete beginner. I was a complete beginner in grade 9, but I've been learning viola and I've been able to work my way up into different levels, and now I'm in the highest level, which is concert. You're also, a lot of people have been learning string instruments since they were little, which gives them the opportunity in grade 9 to join a more advanced level and then progress as they go through high school. Strings follows the RCM, so Royal Conservatory of Music, so we learn the theory and do solos and stuff based off of that.
Awesome. And I think one of the things, if it wasn't obvious, regional strings and the AP program are both at the same school, which is Central Peel, which is why Sia is able to be in both programs at the same time. But Sia, why did you choose both these programs as the best option for you?
Okay, so when I was in middle school, believe it or not, I was doing a little bit of research in university. It's always been my dream to go to a university in America. Obviously, that's changed over time as I've done more research and as I've changed my interests. I feel like in middle school, I was kind of indecisive. I really liked music, but I was also in the IB middle years program in middle school. And I really, really liked going above and beyond and learning more than just the Ontario curriculum. So by going to Central Peel, I was able to experience both at the same time. I didn't really have to pick and choose.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And on to our last panelist, Ayush. She's been waiting patiently for his turn. Ayush, can you tell us a little bit about IBT?
Ayush, you seem to be muted.
Can we get our tech people to unmute Ayush?
I got it. That's my bad. Sorry, I thought I clicked on mute. So IBT stands for International Business and Technology. So of course, it's a little more specified than most programs, but there is a little bit of more flexibility than people think. So when it comes to business, it's actually more focused on the communication aspects. So in grade 9 and 10, you have to take two mandatory business courses. So grade 9 business and grade 10 business, but they're more focused on, networking and persuasion more than the actual specific aspects of business itself. So in grade 11 and 12, if you really do want to go into business and into specific aspects, you can, go into finance or international business or marketing, whatever you want to do. But if you're not necessarily interested in business, like I know many people, including myself, who are in the IBT program, who don't want to do business and maybe want to go into the sciences, they're allowed to do that. And there's more flexibility for them in grade 11 and 12.
And so like Rhythm was telling us about SciTech, we have science and technology. What does the technology side of IBT look like?
So it's actually really similar to SciTech. We offer a lot of different computer courses similar to SciTech. Our computer department's really good. For example, computer technology, computer engineering, and there's also a lot of other things as well. For example, if you want to do woodworking as well, that's another course as well. So it's really similar to SciTech. Personally, I'm not really looking into the tech field as much because I'm more looking into the theoretical side of science and physics. So I don't know much about it, but yeah, I would say it's pretty similar to SciTech.
This is very cool. And so the last question for you is, why did you decide that SciTech was the right program for you?
IBT, but
oh, my bad.
That's no worries. So similar to Parker, I'd say I found that when I was in the IB middle years program, it wasn't really the right fit for me. Like I was always a good student and everything. It wasn't anything like that. I just found that I found it a little more overwhelming. Like I kind of knew where I wanted to go, right? But I knew that I needed better communication skills, and I just needed to become an overall better communicator. And I wasn't really good at, I guess, making conversations with people. I wasn't really good at introducing myself or getting my foot into the door. So when I saw that, when I talked to people who had already been in IBT and who were there, who graduated from it, they said, you know what, like this could be a good program for you, and that's why I went for it.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm so sorry for saying SciTech instead of IBT. We got a lot of words here today, but that's enough for this part of our conversation. We're going to be moving on to some other topics. But before we do that, we have a question in the chat, and it says, how does one make it to one of these programs? What is an ideal candidate, and is it marks in elementary, or is it something else? So I'm going to start by just answering this a little bit and then turn it over to our panelists. So there is a specific application process for every regional program that we have, and we showed you the website before. That's the Regional Learning Program Choices by the Peel District School Board, and you'll find out what the admission requirements are there. I don't think personally marks are a huge part of it, at least at this grade level, but that's something that might have changed in the last 4 years, so definitely consult that website. But I think all of us can answer kind of what does the ideal student in our program look like. So why don't we start with Parker? What do you think the ideal music student looks like?
Well, honestly, the ideal music student doesn't really have much to do about your marks academically. It's more about, I guess, your willingness to grow and learn as a performer. So before all this COVID stuff started happening, usually every year there would be in-person auditions. So you would go in, have sort of an interview, then there would be a verbal quiz about musical knowledge, and then you would have to prepare an audition piece and perform it for them. So for the most part, it's not about where you're already at. It's just about the potential you have. So there's a lot of people at very different levels, and then they're sort of taken and nurtured over the 4 years with the various experiences that the program brings and allowed to grow. So really, just as long as you have that willingness to be able to go that extra step, you are a good candidate for this program, of course.
That's very well said, Parker. And I think that's definitely something we can all apply regardless of what program you look at. It's, it's not where you are now and how smart you are now. It's where do you want to go? So let's take the same question over to Ria. What do you think the ideal IB student looks like?
Right. Similar to what Parker said, I wouldn't really say that, oh, you need super high marks to get into the IB program or even like survive the IB program, but you really need a mentality where you will work hard and you will put effort into the IB program because, as I'm sure a lot of you have heard, IB is a lot of work. There is a workload that comes with IB, but if you're willing to put the work in it, if you're willing to put the hours in it, you'll definitely be a great student. So definitely having that like a goal orientation and having that mentality where I'll work really hard, and I will never, give up. And just because it's a lot of work 1 week, I wouldn't lose this mentality of mine. That will make you a good IB student. So not really academically related, but more of how you'll be as a student.
Okay, and there's a specific question about IB in the chat, Ria, and it says, can you do the SHISM Justice Program and the IB program at the same time?
I'm actually not aware of this justice program. I actually don't know about it, but I don't think so. I think IB is kind of like, it's not like AP or strings because at Turner Fenton, we only offer like one program. So I don't think so, but I don't take my word for it. I'm not quite sure.
If I could speak to that, I know that at my school there was a SHISM business and SHISM sports, but up until last year, you were able to do AP and SHISM. So I'm pretty sure it's just going to be based off of what your school decides. So you're going to have to ask the guidance counselor at the school you're applying to if you're able to do both of them at the same time.
I don't think Turner Fenton offers that, so that's probably why I don't know about it.
It doesn't offer
other IB schools as well, so I don't know if they do or not.
Do you know what school you're applying to for IB? Whoever asked the question.
So you might be talking about Glen Forest or Harold Brathwaite. If that's the case, unfortunately, we don't have anyone here who attends either of those schools. But make an effort, find somebody who goes there, or maybe call the guidance department. And yeah, so HB, call their guidance department and see if that's a possibility. Just answering this question quickly, what is a SHISM? It's a specialist high skills major. So even if you're not in a regional program, some schools have like a specialist skill you can focus on throughout school. So for example, at Central Peel, even if you're not in the AP program and you attend Central Peel, you'd have to be like in the geographic area. That would have to be your home school, but you can choose to do like a focus on business or a focus on sports throughout high school. Unfortunately, that's not what today is about, but if you are interested, definitely consult the Peel District School Board website. But moving back on to Sia, can you tell us what makes the ideal AP student?
Much like Ria said, you just need a willingness to learn. As for admission process, for AP during our year, it was just a online application, and then once you past that, you move on to an in-school examination where it's one about math skills that you learned in grade 7, and then more on, you have to write an English essay that you also, it's just based off of skills you learned in grade 7. Because they know that you're not done grade 8 math, so they're going to focus on stuff that you know in grade 7. As for strings, much like what Parker said, I was a beginner when I applied to strings, so I didn't have to prepare an audition, but they asked us about general music knowledge. We had to sing a few notes to understand like relative pitch, and I think that was it. As if you already do have experience in a strings class, then you would prepare an audition.
Okay, moving on to Ayush, can you tell us what an ideal IBT student looks like?
Yeah, so it's more based off of personality. I remember looking back on my application that I did in grade 8. The main question they asked me were, what are my hobbies and what am I looking into to do in the future, right? So at least back then, they were always looking at personality, like, you know, what do you want to do? What are you interested in, right? It wasn't more about grades. It was just because business at the end of the day is a lot more about personality than it is grades. So they were just looking at if you're positive, if you like to do a lot of things, or do you, you know, are you just lazy? So I guess that's more of it. It's like what type of personality you have. Are you more outgoing, more positive? And those are just the most important things, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, and Rhythm, can you finish us off with what the ideal SciTech student looks like?
Yeah, SciTech is goes back to the whole hands-on, minds-on idea. So the ideal SciTech student is someone who's willing to learn, shows up to class, asks a lot of questions. It's like, as everyone else said, someone who who really wants to learn about what they're learning or what they're being taught. So anybody who is willing to participate, willing to be a little bit outgoing, take a few risks is the ideal SciTech student.
Okay, thank you so much to all our panelists for sharing. We are going to move on, but we will have another Q&A session a little bit later on in the slideshow.
Okay, so now moving on to why you should apply to any of these regional programs. So you'll probably have a great high school experience anyway, no matter what school you go to and if you're in a regional program or not. But regional programs allow you to explore more of your interests and focus on a specific thing in some cases. For example, there's a few regional programs like SciTech or the arts programs, where if you know you want to go into something along those lines in the future, you can specify and go into those regional programs, or at least apply to try and focus your high school path a bit more in the area or subject that you want to do. For other people like me in middle school, if you don't know what you want to do in the future and you don't exactly have a specific subject or a focus, you can apply to IB or AP, which focus a bit more on everything. And it just allows you to explore the different things and then choose in high school where you want to go. Other than that, you can meet like-minded people, which is really helpful, believe it or not. Getting to be around people that think like you or have the same goals as you in the future can really help, because, well, you can share ideas, and just being around those kind of people helps you in high school and it makes it a lot more fun, and you can make friends that are more like you, and it makes the experience a bit better. Other than that, you can take courses that you actually like. In some regional programs, there are specific courses that aren't offered in other schools that do not offer that program, and they will specify in specific areas, or just like an AP or IB. They provide a bit more content and a bit more university level, and it helps you prepare for college or university depending on wherever you want to go. Yeah, so doing a regional program, it pretty much prepares you for college or university, helps you go through high school and focus a bit more specifically on what you want to do, or just gives you more of an understanding and allows you to choose in the future what you want.
If I can just add on to that, you don't have to go into, IBT like because you want to be a business person 100%. Like Ayush was saying, he's an IBT and he's not interested in pursuing business necessarily. But what this allows you to do is explore your interests. The more things you try, the more things you know what you like and what you don't like. So just because you go to the arts program doesn't mean that your be all and end all is being a musician, right? It could just be one way of having a good time in high school, exploring something, and even incorporating those skills later on. So I actually knew this girl. She was in visual arts at Mayfield, and she went into architecture after. So that's kind of incorporating like both the arts part and the science part. So don't feel that you can only apply to programs that you want to see yourself in university or as a career doing. These are definitely your opportunities to try a whole bunch of different things.
Okay, so a bit more about the course and the opportunities. So as I said before, regional programs in schools, they offer unique courses or classes for specific like topics that you might not find in a normal school. For example, in like SciTech, you'll probably find more science and technology related classes, which you probably can't take in any other school. So if you're wanting to do something like that, it's of course a great thing. Other than that, SHISM, it can sometimes be combined depending on your school and the program. For our school in Central PO and AP, you could take the SHISMs until I think last year or 2 years ago. Now I'm pretty sure they've changed it, so you're not allowed to take SHISMs if you're in the AP program. But it's still, but yeah, depending on the school and the program, you can take any other thing if you want. Other than that, with regional programs, you get a lot more opportunities. For example, going to different places, trying to, I don't know, doing extracurriculars. There's some extracurriculars only offered to programs, travel opportunities, different type of trips, different learnings. It's just, in general, you get a lot more experience while being in the programs because it offers a lot more variety and different opportunities that wouldn't be offered in a normal program and in a normal school environment. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely there's a lot of opportunities in all those programs.
So we are back to our panelists because I'm sure they have some very exciting stories to share about how their programs, you know, help them in terms of the certain opportunities or certain courses. So let's start with Sia this time. So can you tell us about a particular course you were able to take through AP or strings because you were in those programs that you wouldn't have been able to take at any other school?
So for strings, all of the strings courses I took are completely just for people who are in strings programs. So I'm going to talk about my grade 9 experience. So that's when I was in beginner strings. I was in a class with everyone else who were completely new to their instrument, and that's where I started to make friends, and I felt like I was in a very comfortable environment due to the fact that I knew that we were all starting from stage 1, and we were able to kind of just grow over the last 4 years together. Most of them have been in my class every year, so I was able to develop my skills with them.
And so I know that at the end of certain AP courses, well, you can take AP exams, which are equivalent to college or university level credits. So can you tell us like about a particular course you took in AP that you know, really helped you, or you took the exam for it?
So I took all of my courses AP last year, but I only did 2 exams. I did the AP Stats and AP Physics exam. Due to COVID, they worked a little bit differently. They were administered online, but I was able to get a 5 in both. So they are graded from levels 1 to 5. And basically the way that they work is you're able to get a university transferable credit if you get a 4 or a 5. So if I were to apply to an American university, I would be able to skip first year stats and first year physics because I am qualified at the university level for those courses.
Very cool. And so taking, you know, a university level course definitely comes with an increased workload. Can you tell us a little bit about what your workload has been through, like throughout high school?
So in grade 9 and 10, it wasn't as busy as it was in grade 11 and 12, but in grade 9 and 10, I was able to develop work habits that worked very well for me. And when my workload did increase in grade 11 and 12 for those courses, I wasn't too surprised per se, because I was able to know what study habits worked for me. As for homework, I would say expect maybe 3 to 4 hours at least a night, especially because I had AP Physics as well as AP Math at the same time, and those were very heavy. But something like strings is only like an hour of practice a night, so that was kind of more relaxing and helped me balance things out.
Okay, let's move on to another program. So Rhythm, can you tell us about what one specific opportunity is that you got through being in the SciTech program that, you know, helped you maybe decide that Waterloo engineering was the one for you?
So the biggest course I can probably say is technological design. It's offered at Chinguzi too. You can get a SciTech credit for it and a non-SciTech credit for it, but there's a really big difference between the SciTech course and the non-SciTech course. So in the SciTech course, honestly, there's a bunch of stuff that I learned in high school that they're just repeating in university through SciTech, through my engineering courses. So that makes engineering a breeze. But not only that, but you get to learn, you get to work with your hands, you get to work on a lot of projects, and it's just overall a fun atmosphere. And in terms of like preparing for university, the workload is very, very similar from SciTech to university. You get used to the stress through your high school. So when you're coming in university, you're just like, oh, I recognize the stress level, I can deal with it. It's easy to manage because I've experienced it before. Right, so so a regional program just in general. I'm sure a lot of the panelists will realize this one next year if they pursue post-secondary, is that they'll realize that, oh, university is a lot like the regional program I was in high school.
So I think what Rhythm's trying to say here is that the workload that you experience in high school is definitely going to be more than you expected in middle school, but it is definitely going to help you when you're adjusting to post-secondary.
For sure.
Okay, moving on to another program, let's talk to Ayush. So IBT, can you tell us a certain course or an opportunity that you got to take or have just because you were in this program?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it was a specific course, but rather like there was a little bit of an element of IBT in every course that I had. So there's just certain courses. So you have an IBT course and you have a non-IBT course. So of course in grade 9 and 10, all of our courses were IBT, but in grade 11, as you expand out, they change. But for example, say our French IBT class, a lot of our projects were about creating a French business, and we would have to research French business customs and French business terms, and we would have to communicate those to our French teacher. Another thing could be in our IBT history class, our final summative was a pitch for a museum, a history museum. And we had to make an investment pitch to our teacher with a bunch of finances. And it was more, of course, as I said before, more communication based, but there were a lot of different elements of business inside. For technology wise, I wouldn't say there was as big of an impact on technology because again, we had separate technology courses, so such as computer science or computer technology, but there was a lot of heavy business components to every course we had.
So that's really interesting. I actually didn't know that, probably because I'm not in the IBT program. But as you can see, there's a little bit of business sprinkled throughout. So I think that's very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about your workload in IBT? So what was it like coming from middle school to high school?
Well, of course, the workload was a bit elevated, but I'd say that if you work hard enough, you can definitely create a really good work-life balance. I didn't feel like the workload was very overwhelming. Because I remember in grade 9 and 10, of course, it's a little bit less than grade 11 and 12. But I was able to, experiment in grade 9 and 10, see what worked for me. Maybe working at certain times, maybe working on devices rather than paper. Whatever I could find, I tried to experiment. So for me personally, the workload wasn't too bad. I'd say you definitely have the ability to strike a good work-life balance. So if that's really important to you, then I'd say that IBT has a good workload.
Okay, let's move on to Parker from the Regional Arts Program. So Parker, can you tell us about a particular opportunity, maybe to perform or like a course you took just because you were in the arts program?
Well, similarly to the strings program at Central Peel, for the rap program, you are in the same class with the same people for 4 years. And one of the really interesting opportunities we got just this past year was we did a teaching unit. So our teachers basically gave us the rundown about how to effectively teach someone else musically. And then we got a chance to go to some local middle schools and work with the kids, which was a really great experience. And another thing that's really cool that you can do with the rap program, depending on your instrument or if you're a vocal major, is you can apply to one of the school's 2 ensemble courses for jazz. So there's a vocal jazz and there's an instrumental jazz. And that probably has been the coolest just for me personally. I play the saxophone. So we've gotten a lot of opportunities to see shows. We've been able to work with Juno winner Marcus Ali. We were able to have a workshop with Jules Estrin, who works with Jazz FM 91. So I think that those types of experience were probably the most valuable to me, and it was just really great to be able to, I guess, communicate that way with people.
And so what would you say your workload is like in high school as part of the music program?
Well, I mean, it honestly depends on how much time you're willing to put into it. Because you have your regular school workload, and then you have mandatory ensembles and stuff after school, so a bit of extra work for music. But the thing is, there's a lot of additional ensembles that you can add on. So I know personally for me, I was staying after school for a couple of hours for most days a week, and there were days where I would be, walking out into the parking lot with a bunch of giant cases at 7 p.m. and then going home. So really, it's honestly, I found that it's not too bad just because it's something I'm very passionate about and I'm very into, but you have to be able to sort of self-regulate in order to really make the most out of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of us in regional programs are also very involved in our extracurriculars. And I can think of nights where I'm leaving robotics and it's like cold and it's dark outside. But I think passion is so important no matter what you do. And so you said you also have your academic workload. So can you tell us a little bit about like what non-music courses did you take throughout high school?
Well, for the first year or so, I wasn't really able to have any electives just because the way that rap works is that for the first year, the rap courses take up your 2 elective spots. But I personally decided to move forward and take some business courses just so I could have experience, networking and communicating with others. I also decided to look into social science courses and things like that because music as a career path, there are a lot of career paths concerning music therapy sort of, and that's what I'm just personally interested in. So I found that it was a very interesting way to make a connection between 2 subjects I was interested in. So that's what I've been focusing on.
That's very cool. Thank you so much for sharing, Parker. We're going to go to our last panelist, who is Ria in the IB program. Ria, can you tell us a little bit about what's one particular opportunity or course you took as part of the IB program that's really helped you identify your interests throughout high school?
Yeah. So when you're in the IB program, each course, yes, they have like a lot of tests and stuff that you do, but usually like the projects and assignments are overlooked because they're probably the best part and in your IB experience. So for example, I'm taking this business course, and in my business course, I actually work with 2 companies. So these are real-time companies, and I work with them, I approach them, I analyze their business processes. They're basically my mentor. And I also, give some suggestions on how they can improve their business processes. So definitely working with these like real-time businesses gives me such a good opportunity where I can learn how to network and approach others. But also in terms of science courses, in the science courses, just bio and chem, we actually lead our experiments, it's a couple of experiments a year ourselves. So it gives us definitely some experience in university, for example, like how to do labs, how to run experiments, and really investigate in that. So I think the projects and assignments aspect of IB is probably one of the best in my high school.
And so you said earlier that there's a lot of different streams in IB. So what's just the one that you're choosing to pursue? You talked about business and science, so.
So in IB, I know that a lot of people think it's very science and math oriented, which yes, there are a lot of science courses you can take, a lot of math courses you can take, but there's also this like creativity aspect in it where we do offer music, we do offer visual arts, digital arts, robotics. There is a lot of like courses in that aspect. There is global politics that you can take, there's business, there is those streams as well. So personally, I'm taking a science stream, so bio and chem, but I'm also taking business. So definitely I'm kind of like combining both my science and my business courses together. So I have a good combination of both. And something I just want to add on, which I think I forgot before, was that just like AP, like Sia said, in IB, you can also transfer courses when you go to university. And these also work for Canadian universities. So if I'm taking, for example, English, that can be used as a transfer credit when you go to university. So you could definitely save time in university and a lot of work. So same thing as AP, IB also works in the same way.
Okay, and so I know IB is notorious for having a workload.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about, what's your workload like and how do you maintain that work-life balance?
Yeah. So definitely IB is super like, famous about its workload, and there is a lot of workload. I'm not gonna lie. Grade 9 and 10 is manageable, it's fine, but then grade 11 personally kind of like really hit. I was like, okay, this is a lot of work. But it's something that I will appreciate when I go to university, because I know that university will have a great workload. So my sister, who actually graduated from IB a couple of years ago, is now in university, and she's like, honestly, I didn't really feel any difference because IB's has a lot of workload, and so does university. So I will appreciate the workload when I like in the future, but definitely it is a lot of work. It's a lot of hours you put in. So yeah.
Okay, so we have a question in the chat, and it says, if you weren't part of a regional program in middle school and decide to join a regional program in high school, would it make a big difference? Like, would it be more harder? I think, whether you're in a regional program before or even in high school will hit you. It's a lot more work than you anticipated. So I came from the IB program before in middle school, and my first math test, like, it wasn't cute. That was not a good mark, because you don't have to study. Like, I don't think I ever studied before I got to grade 9. And what you'll realize in high school is now that you have credits, like you have only 4 courses for a semester, you have exams, summatives, you'll realize that it's a lot more commitment and a lot more studying regardless. So is it more harder coming from not being in a regional program before? I don't think it makes a difference. I think grade 9 is definitely a shock for a lot of people. And you have to have the mindset that, like, I need to work hard. And being in SciTech or IB or any program before that might have taught you to work hard, but there's also cases of people who didn't really anticipate that high school would actually be harder than it was. So if any of our panelists want to speak to that as well, what was the transition like from middle school to high school?
Okay, wait. Before we get to the panelists, I just want to say something about that. So I didn't actually come from a regional program in middle school, and I wasn't part of IB, IBT, or any of the other programs they offered in middle school, partly because I didn't know they existed. But so it is a transition, of course. It's hard. It's not the same as you would in middle school. You have 4 courses instead of 7 or 8 now. There's a lot more work. There's tests that you actually have to study for, tests more often. But honestly, it's more like it's more that you need to get into the habit of working more and a bit harder than you did at middle school. It's not necessarily really hard to work in high school. It's just that you got to dedicate more time, have more patience, work more, get more stamina to work for longer periods of times. Because in middle school, honestly, you get homework, you work for maybe 30 minutes, an hour. If you have a project, 2 hours a day, maybe 3. Tests you don't really have to study for unless it's like a big test and you want to study a little bit. In high school, you need to get more, just working a lot more, and not necessarily hard, but more work. So for me, I didn't come from anything, so I wasn't really prepared for it, but it wasn't hard to jump. Could be because of the courses you have. I only had really science and English in my first semester that were big courses that required a lot of work. So that's not necessarily harder coming from middle school without a regional program. It takes sometimes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month to get used to working harder and working for longer periods of time. But I wouldn't say that it would make much of a difference if you came from a regional program in middle school or if you didn't. Because at the end of the day, it's about your work ethic and how much time you're willing to put into it. Because I'm sure there will be people that came from regional programs in middle school who are doing, I guess you could say, worse than people that didn't, all because of the amount of effort they're willing to put into it. Well, yeah, if our panelists want to say anything, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just more of an adjustment than it is harder. Like, of course, you're going from 8 courses throughout the entire year to 4 courses per half year, and then you have final exams. But personally, I think I found the semester system, I like it a lot more than the whole 8 courses per year system in middle school, especially because your exams at the end of the day are worth 30%. So if you really, if you're working hard and you know your stuff, you can boost your mark a lot, right? And you can really change your mark a lot just because of that final exam, just because of how much it's worth, right? So for me personally, I actually really liked the system a lot more in high school. And it wasn't that hard. It was just more of an adjustment and changing, again, how much you work. So yeah, that's one.
Speaking to how oh, my dog is going crazy, I apologize, but speaking to how AP works, the way that our final exams are is you can't get tested on AP content, which is why for a lot of AP courses, the final exams seem a lot easier because you're not tested on the harder, more extensive topics that you learn throughout the year. So for example, the way that my AP advanced functions class is working is we only do Ontario curriculum for the first month, and then the second month is all extension. So I'm basically done the course by the end of September, and then, or by the end of September, and then all of October is just extension.
Okay, so we are going to move on. We do have a little open Q&A session as one of our final slides. So if any questions do come into your mind, please put them in the chat now. We're just going to move on to the next slide. All right, so thinking about university. It is still very, very early to be thinking about college and university. I guarantee you, as you go throughout high school, your interests will change and evolve. At one point, I thought I wanted to do business, law. Now I'm on neuroscience. Who knows where I'll be in a couple of months. But each regional program does have its own benefits when it comes to university. Those are the nitty-gritty details that the principal will probably tell you 100 times when you attend that school's information section. And we post the link in the chat, but you can check there for all the actual school information sessions and the details about each program specifically. But just don't put so much pressure on yourself for university right now. It does not matter what high school you go to, what program you're in. The big thing is if you work hard, it doesn't matter what program you're in, you will be successful.
Okay, so now it is time for our Q&A session. If you guys have any questions, you can ask our panelists. If you're comfortable, you can unmute and ask them yourself, or you can leave the question in the Zoom chat and we'll make sure that the panelists see and answer the questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask right now.
You can also use this time to ask a particular panelist about a particular program. So if you have a question pertaining to only IB or only music, then feel free to just put it in the chat or unmute yourself and you can ask specifically to that person. So there is a question in the chat and it says, what was your favorite moment in high school or in that particular regional program so far? So does any of our panelists want to answer that?
I guess I can start. So my favorite moment so far, so I am an AP in Central Peel, so it's not something that's relative to my regional program. Rather, by coming to Central Peel, I was able to join the robotics extracurricular. And by doing this, we were able to go to World, so in Detroit, for grade 9 and 10. And I feel like that was my favorite moment in high school so far. Being able to spend a week with my friends in Detroit while we did a robotics competition.
Okay, we have another question. Okay. Oh, go ahead, Rhythm.
I guess I can go second with the robotics, definitely. I agree to Sia. Robotics, it's not only the regional program experiences, but just the general high school experiences that are the best, a bunch of extracurricular experiences. I found are the best parts of high school, just spending days out on robotics competitions or badminton or sports tournaments with your friends. Having the day to have a lot of fun was the best part, probably.
Yeah, I'd say the same is probably for me as well. It's extracurricular based. So personally, I'm in DECA at my school, which you'll see a lot of schools have. DECA, which is a business related competition, I guess you could say, but you'll learn more about it once you get to grade 9. But personally, my team and I, we were attending the provincials competition in downtown Toronto, and we won, and we placed top 8, and we were supposed to go to Nashville for international competition, but of course, due to COVID, we weren't able to. But definitely the feeling of success and all our hard work, working out, I guess that was honestly one of the best experiences I've ever had. But yeah.
I just see in the chat that somebody asked, for high school in general, does summer school help? Well, I'm in a regional program, much like Parker's, where I didn't have any choice for electives in grade 9. So by taking civics and careers in high school in summer school after grade 9, I was able to actually have electives for grade 10, which was super useful because I took grade 11 courses in my grade 10 year. So I was able to kind of just expedite those courses.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Just
go
to
ahead,
be,
Ria.
Okay, just adding it to Sia real quick. When you're in a regional program, such as IB, you can't take any IB courses in summer school. So you can't do like IB English and be like, okay, I'm not going to do IB English in my school year though. But then again, she said you can take other electives or other courses that will be like mainstream courses. So if IB doesn't offer some courses, that's definitely an option that you can take those courses in summer school.
Sorry for cutting you off before, Rhythm. Do you want to continue?
Yeah, just one quick point is to make sure you look out for what courses you do take in summer school. A lot of universities do not like summer school courses, right? If you take them on early on in grade 9 and 10, that's okay. But for your senior years, universities personally, especially the one I'm going to, Waterloo, does not like it when you take something like grade 11 or 12 physics in summer school. They will penalize you for that. And they may cut parts of your average off. So you should just be a little bit careful when you're considering summer school.
Okay, so another question in the chat is, do any other schools offer more than one program? Because Central Peel does offer regional strings and AP. I think Port Credit in Mississauga has SciTech and strings, but that's nitty-gritty details that I'd recommend you use the link that we sent in the chat to see what programs are at what schools. Another question, particularly for IB, so Ria, hopefully you can answer this. What did you do your personal project on?
So for those of you who don't know what personal project is, it's a project that you do in grade 9 to 10, where you basically choose anything. Like you choose anything that you want to do, and you spend like 10% of your time just working on it. Some people can like create a program. Some people can be like, okay, I want to learn a new instrument. So whatever it is, you can choose anything you want and you can go ahead and just work on it. So for me, I created a YouTube channel where I showed how you can create things out of plastic bags, how you can reuse plastic bags in a way to help the environment, but also kind of help you with like arts and crafts. That's what I did. I'm not sure what you mean by arts application, because...
So I think that's a question about the regional arts program, okay. So we can turn that over to Parker. How do you make your arts application stand out?
Well, I know that it depends basically on which art stream you're planning on taking, but I know that for all of them you have to do a written portion and then there's an in-person sort of portion. I'm not necessarily sure how that's going to work this coming year, just considering worldwide circumstance. But I would say for the written portion, include as much as you can about, like, for example, what you do at school or like any extracurriculars that could pertain to your field of the arts in your free time. And also just kind of, I know in order to prepare for mine, I just kind of ran my mouth off about what I was doing at my school and like on my free time to my parents just as a practice because I had an interview. So I guess just making sure that you're, I guess, used to talking to others about it and you're being personable is a really good way to make yourself stand out for an arts application.
Okay, so the application process will be different this year due to COVID, as somebody said in the chat. We don't know what it's going to look like, obviously, because we're not the admissions committees, but do your research on that. Somebody asked, can you elaborate on universities penalizing you for taking summer school? So Rhythm, can we come back to you on that one?
Yeah, for sure. So it's not all universities. So some universities make, and it's not even all programs. So personally, for me, it was a thing. If I took specific summer school programs or summer school courses, my university would cut off parts of my average. So the way your average is considered, it's your top 6 grade 12 courses, or sometimes your grade 11 courses if you're going for early admission. And if you take any of those courses over the summer school, they may not count towards your average. So let's say I get a 99 in summer school English, right? It's not going to count. They might say, okay, no, you did the course, good, but it's not going to count towards your grade 12 average at all. We're just going to consider your other courses.
So summer school can also be used to fast track. So some people will take like a required course. For example, Civics and Careers is a course you have to take in grade 10. A lot of people do that in summer school after grade 9 to free up some space in grade 10. So I kind of put this example in the chat. So I took Civics and Careers in the summer after grade 9, and that meant I could take an extra course in grade 10. So I took grade 11 accounting. So again, like Rhythm was saying, don't use those big influential courses for your university average, like physics or English in grade 12. Don't be taking those in summer school. But in grade 9 and 10, honestly, it's just a little bit, it's a way of freeing up your schedule and giving you more options to take other courses.
Just to add on, I feel like we've been talking about summer school, but I want to make it clear that it's just 1 month to get the course, because I feel like when we say summer school, people might think it's July and August. You can also only take one summer school course during that summer with the Peel District School Board.
Okay, if there's any other questions, please leave them in the chat. Otherwise, we will be moving on within the next minute or so. Okay, perfect. We are going to be moving on. Okay, so we have upcoming Q&A sessions on November 21st at 2 o'clock p.m. We're going to be talking about Ontario courses. So if you're in grades 9 or 11 right now and you want to know what courses to take next year in terms of your electives, any AP courses and exams that you want to take if you're in that program, and what to consider when planning your courses for university and college, then definitely come to our next Q&A session. It's the same registration form. I do see we have one more question in the chat that I'm just going to read out. Can you take Civics and Careers in summer school for IB? Ria, can you answer that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, you cannot, because we have to do that in school. It's a little weird, I know. And I recommend that if you want to take summer school, if you're in IB, definitely use that time for something that IB won't offer, like a cool elective, like law, or anything else that IB wouldn't offer. But that we would have to do in school, actually.
Okay, so again, our next Q&A session, November 21st. Next slide, please.
Okay, so that will be it for today. Thank you everyone for coming. Hopefully you guys got some valuable information. This session helped you guys to understand about how the regional programs work and just a bit about how the experience is in different courses. Hopefully you guys can tune into our next Q&A session in November, which will talk a bit more about different topics such as the selecting Ontario courses. But yeah, if you guys still have any other questions, I see a few popping up in chat. Just you can still let them know. But yeah, that'll be it for today. Thank you everyone for joining us in this session.
So you guys are free to leave. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you guys can leave now. If you would like, if you still have questions, put them in the chat.
If you have any questions, you can just email us at